are you? Are you... jerk? I had a spider crawling on me. Thought it was a mosquito. Well, anyway, so, yeah, the minigame, not that interesting. I don't remember if there are any other ones. If there were, they weren't that memorable. The weapons in the first one. Really, it's pistols and assault rifles. I've said this a million times. The shotguns and sniper rifles are absolutely useless. They do the same damage as assault rifles and pistols do, but at a lower rate and overheat faster. That's stupid. Basically, they're absolutely worthless. Your inventory and your inventory management, I've complained. I don't know why they went backwards on everything that they said, or everything that's been stated for the convenience of people in RPGs and stuff. I don't know why you would change that system. I mean, I understand if you're trying to make it better, but this one, in Mass Effect 1, the inventory was just completely backwards and stupid. And you couldn't organize your items, you couldn't at least alphabetize your items to make it a little bit easier to get through them or something. But selling at shops just became tedious. And the worst part is that you'd get just junk items non-stop. And reducing them to Omnigel, even if it's like the best shotgun or the worst shotgun, would give you pretty much the same Omnigel. And Omnigel wasn't even that useful. It was really only used for, what? Repairing the Mako? That's not a good use of it. You could do a lot better. Other than that, Omnigel didn't really have much of a use. What's next? Gameplay. Overall gameplay of the first one was good. It was just rather dry. There wasn't a lot of complexity to combat. Once you got up and started shooting at people and used a couple abilities, which you pretty much had to do because your group would fall apart instantly the second anyone started shooting at you. Really, the gameplay was how uber can you get fast so that way enemies can't kill you. That's not really a good way to make combat deep or interesting. It was really more of a snooze fest for combat. There were no like really hard like super bosses in the game, really. It was all just like point and kill interface. Yeah, the party system and the way the party works is terrible. I hate having my party members like stand out in the open and just drop dead, or like run way ahead, or get stuck on a corner, or like just all sorts of frustrating things. I also hate your party members just drop dead every 5 seconds, but you drop dead and it's game over. You know, like your party members, they have healing, but they can't use it. You know, it's kind of silly, and I didn't understand why they did this. They should have tweaked it. And even if you become so like super powerful, like one rocket will sometimes just kill you, and it's like a fluke thing. Even if you're not shot at, you can just drop dead from a rocket. Like replaying missions like Vermeer and stuff, I was one where I got out of the Mako and a rocket really came out of nowhere and hit me and I just dropped dead. And I was like, I think this game is such bullshit. And if there was a better explanation of how it works to defend yourself, it would have been a lot better. But other than that, garbage. Let's see. The ending of the game. The ending of the first game was good. I liked the fact that you kind of had this choice to save the council or not save the council. It was interesting to a point, and it was good to have some sort of aftermath, but I was hoping for a little more aftermath, or at least like character cooperation or something a little more like, oh, we all won. But like really it was just like, you destroyed the ship, now pick your council member. Like, will you save the council? You know, it was good for what the game was. Like overall it fit the theme of the game, so it worked. But that song in the end of the game ruined it. Ruined any like triumphant up, and then they like end out with that terrible song, which I complained about thoroughly. I mean, overall, you know, the Saren and fighting and finding out he's indoctrinated and there is some person inside him. Of course you're gonna fight him, and it was sadly predictable to do like the I'm the second stage, badass Saren. You know, it was sadly predictable. So, yeah. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, let's talk about Mass Effect 2. The beginning. The beginning was stupid. Cerberus, even though I demolished them in the first game, apparently is there. They somehow managed to resurrect me, even though there's no way I could survive, and even if I had any fragment that wasn't shattered to dust, there's no way you could resurrect a person that way. I mean, you could bring a person's clone to life, but it wouldn't be them. It's not like clones, like twins and stuff, share the same brain and the same thought pattern. They don't. Like, I would essentially be an all-new person that just is genetically similar and looks identical to a previous Captain Shepard. That's just silly. It would have been better if it was like we used Mass Effect to open this to, you know, save you in your moment as you fell from the ship, or like, you know, he died of suffocation and they found some way to resurrect him or something. Like, he ran out of air and was found, like, orbiting, and nobody knew that he was orbiting, even though he was dead. Like, that would have been more interesting, and they spent all this time, like, preserving and resurrecting him that way. Because at least you'd have a corpse and a brain to deal with, and then essentially, I guess you could resurrect someone. But I just felt like it was, like, like, let's do Fifth Element and just make something up. Where we can just, you know, magically create people like that. The main arc of the story in Mass Effect 2 was rather dry. I didn't like Cerberus. I didn't like the Cerberus guy. I don't understand why Captain Shepard just wasn't like, F you guys, I'm going to the Council, I'm talking to them. Like, that's it. I mean, if the Council's human, you'd think they would do something about it. But anyway, it just, even if he went rogue, you think he'd be able to do it without a problem. Overall, it was short. I mean, that was like, there really was no main story. It was like, collectors are coming. How do they work? Let's create defenses against them. Let's go, you know, let's go get this thing that lets us travel through the relay. Travel through the relay. I mean, that was the plot. There wasn't like a real, like, there wasn't a large enough threat to make it seem like it was really that bad. Like, yeah, they kidnapped, like, what, 4 human colonies? Ooh, so scary. So really, there wasn't a lot of build-up. And, like, Harbinger, or whatever, I can't say it right now. Harbinger, was interesting as a character. Now, the one thing that bothered me about the main arc is that the first one was all about the Protheans. All about them. And if the collectors are the Protheans, despite the fact that they look nothing like the Protheans in the first game, it's nonsensical. And I understand, like, oh yes, they indoctrinated them and changed them genetically and enhanced them and all this shit. But still, it would... There would be, like, some sort of sense gotten from it. It just ended up like they just felt like adding that in. I think the Keepers in the first one working that way made sense, but, like, the Collectors and Harbinger, they really didn't bother to explain it much more than, like, they're indoctrinated Protheans, that's it. I hope this is satisfactory for you, gamer. You probably didn't play the first one, so yeah, we'll just throw that in. There wasn't frankly, the Protheans weren't even talked about. It's like, oh, well, we don't care about Prothean ruins anymore, so peace out. And that's just kind of silly. You know, the first one, they were hoping for the technology of the Protheans, and then the second one, they're like, we don't give a dick about it. I mean, unless in the 2 years after he died, they discovered every Prothean ruin and, you know, engineered everything they possibly could from it, and that was the end of it. That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, they didn't even bother to explain it or go in. They expected you to go through your codex and figure it out, and the codex didn't even say anything helpful. Even if you're a new player, it wouldn't be very helpful. So, now we get on to the characters. Again, they put less light on the Hanar and some of the other species, the Alcor and stuff like that. They pretty much don't make an appearance in this one, even though they were interesting in the first one. Getting Garrus, that's his name, Garrus in the second one was not that surprising. It really wasn't. When they first said, like, oh, a Turian guy, I was like, yeah, I figured it's Garrus. And Garrus is a little more interesting in this one. He's not this bland drunk, and they apparently just threw that out the window. Instead, he's kind of like this, Robin Hood, righting the wrongs, which is interesting to a point. I mean, I like the fact that he, like, got hit by a cannon and had, like, the bandage on the side of his face and was, like, all messed up. That was kind of cool. Then you throw in Jacob and Miranda. I like Jacob as a character, although he was, like, interesting to a point, but still kind of an obnoxious character, much like Miranda. Like, they had their moments that were, or Jacob had his moments that were interesting. Miranda, not really. She just felt like some spoiled, obnoxious brat throughout the game, and she's frankly hideous looking, and I didn't really, like, everything she said was like this condescending, annoying thing. And I don't like people that speak like that. I think people like that should be hit with cricket bats. But I don't know. I just didn't like her character. I didn't trust her character. They gave me no reason to like and or trust her character. I guess they expected, like, oh, boobs and butt, awesome. No. That doesn't sell a character for me. So that really didn't work. I really didn't like I liked Mordin as a character. I didn't like the fact that he had this whole genophage decision line and storyline, and you could convince him that the genophage was inherently wrong, but there was no, like, end to it. It was like we're saving this part for Mass Effect 3. Like, you started, but then you finish it in Mass Effect 3. The other thing I didn't like was about Mordin in general with his, like, storyline is that it was very dry. It was like, go to a facility, see people work on genophage, that's it. Like, end of story. Next we have Grunt, and Grunt is not that... Grunt was not as visually appealing and, like, Krogan looking as the rest of the Krogans were. He looked completely different. He looked like pretty much his own race. He started getting a little crazy towards the end, and he didn't really have, like, the depth of field that Rex had. They made him a very one-dimensional character. Then you have Thane, and Thane was an interesting character, but his story just kind of petered out. It just didn't... There was nothing else. It petered out, literally. It was like, I'm sick with the disease, I want to see my son. End of his arc. Like, it's like they only wrote half a story. It's probably, like, continued in Mass Effect 3. Who else? Yeah, you had Tali, which Tali's story was, like, remotely interesting. It would have been more interesting if you had gotten Legion from her exploration or something, or, like, part of Tali's was getting Legion, and it would decide whether Tali liked you or didn't like you, or something like that with Legion. Legion's story is... I mean, with Tali, there's nothing else I can say. It was pretty short, not really much going on with it. Legion's story, he apparently transmitted something to make Geth normal, like, not kill everything, and, like, communicable, and can talk to people, and less bigoted, and would make, like, Legion okay, and they wouldn't be fighting wars all over the place, and, like, conquering humans. But the problem is that I was still fighting Geth after. You know, that's what they did. They supposedly sent out this super transmission that would fix all the Geth in a fair amount of distance, but then I'm right back there killing Geth. It didn't make any sense. Like, I didn't understand it. I was like, okay, so why am I still killing Geth? I just think that they didn't think it through, and they didn't say, like, okay, well, now you don't fight Geth anymore because he's in your party. I mean, if they at least swapped missions where it'd be the Blue Sun instead of Geth, you know, that'd be a little more interesting. But they didn't bother to do that. With adding in characters like Ashley and Liara, it felt like a one note. Like, Ashley just kind of left and you never see her again. You see her for like a piece of a mission and that's it. Then you have Liara, who's like all evil and this information broker. And yeah, I probably screwed up her mission, but her story just peters out. I mean, really, that's all it does. It peters out. So it doesn't become very interesting. Then, who else? I'm like forgetting half of my party members in this game because most of them are so uninteresting. Let's see. I should just look in game. I'm not even looking at the monitor right now. Who else? Legion, Mordin. Oh, you have the Justicar. The Justicar's story was at least like it played out very differently, and I did kind of like her straightforwardness about things, but there wasn't much story to develop, and it's fine that she had a flat story because there's not much to her character. I mean, her character's do the same thing as Garrus does. I right wrongs and go around killing people that I think are doing wrong. So that's fine. That's all, kosher and dandy that they short-sheeted her in terms of story. And Jack. Jack was obnoxious. A very one-dimensional, annoying character. Like, I had so much trauma, I need to kill because of my trauma. It was just annoying at a point. I didn't like her as a character, and I thought she needed to go. And I should have sacrificed her instead of Mordin for that one part. So, not the greatest choice for character. I don't know. Her story was just let's blow shit up and that's it. There really wasn't. It was fluff. Her story was basically a fluff to add into her one-dimensional character. It would have been more interesting if she came from some super rich background and wanted to find her family, and her family's perfectly normal, and they threw her away because she was this crazy biotic with uncontrollable power or something, or she murdered her parents and she feels regretful about it. Something that would have at least stuck her as more than just a one-dimensional character. Let's see what else. I know I'm missing a character here. I'm just gonna do this. Nope.